Witnesses have this morning reported the sounds of explosions and warplanes in the capital Khartoum, as well as renewed clashes between the army and the paramilitary rapid support forces in the nearby city of Bahri. At least 551 people have been killed and some 5,000 others injured since the conflict broke out in mid-April. Heavy shelling last week disrupted the delivery of aid to trapped civilians. An estimated 100,000 refugees have fled abroad. Envoys of Sudan's warring parties are currently meeting in Saudi Arabia for talks. And while mediators are seeking a path to peace, both sides have made it clear that they will only discuss a humanitarian truce and not an end to the conflict. Well, let's now get the latest from CGTN's Yasser Hakim, who's following the talks in Jeddah. He's joining us live from Riyadh. Yasser, what's the latest on the ceasefire talks going on in Saudi Arabia?
Well, the ceasefire talks started on Saturday, but on the end of the second day of talks, the first official statement came out from the Foreign Ministry of Saudi Arabia to explain what is happening throughout the talks, because the media were not allowed at all during the meetings or even before the meetings happened. And it basically explained that the talks will take a few days. It's not a quick meeting, that they're not just about trying to have a ceasefire for humanitarian aid, but also the meetings will focus on having a roadmap and a timetable for a long peace ceasefire and a comprehensive peace talks. So it's not just about the ceasefire for humanitarian aid, but to try to start to put some kind of roadmap for the peace talks to begin. And that both sides of, obviously the two sides in Sudan, are now being in talks mediated by the US and Saudi Arabia. The sticking points to understand is that how to monitor the ceasefire. For example, we see now that the several ceasefires we've seen in the last week or so have always been breached, and you're just talking about fighting continuing in spite of there has been a ceasefire. So who is to blame in these situations? It's not easy to pin a point on who is the one to blame, and that's why there has to be a monitoring mechanism. And this is one of the issues they're both working on. The second issue is how to secure the corridor for the humanitarian aid to reach the Sudanese. So this needs to be secured. It's a long distance in desert areas and tribal areas and cities, and there are militants around all the time. So how to secure this from both from the army, the army and the rapid support forces. So this is another sticking point to talk about. And that's why the statement said that it will take a few days. So it's going to be a contracted negotiation, not just a very quick meeting to map out some quick issues.
Yes, sir. The Arab League has formed a contact group on Sudan. How much do we know so far about the immediate tasks for this group and how they will contribute to the peace efforts for Sudan?
Yeah, the group is consisting of Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and the Secretary General of the Arab League. Already, the Egyptian Foreign Minister has started work immediately. He's traveling to South Sudan and Chad to meet officials there, all looking also to tour the neighboring countries, trying to see how they can coordinate to push pressure on the warring sides in Sudan for a peace. To stop fighting and to work on a peaceful transition to democracy and civil rule. The group includes Saudi Arabia, which is already working now with the United States on the peace talks in Jeddah. So there is coordination between Saudi Arabia being the link between the Arab League and the talks in Jeddah. So there is coordination now. The Arab League has decided to go in and to interfere more positively this time, and they're hoping that they can play a role as well with the mediators here in Saudi Arabia. Back to you.
Yes, Hakim, joining us there from Riyadh in Saudi Arabia.